I see it says live on
Yeah,
Facebook here.
now we're live. Perfect. We're rolling.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I'd like to welcome you guys back to the Real Talk with Real Estate Investors show. We have a very special guest with us today. He is Jimmie Williams. He is actually the owner and founder of JW Acquisitions and Development, as well as JW Real Estate Investor out of Atlanta. Him and his wife run a full-time business where they flip and invest with real estate properties throughout the nation. True pro, a true genius, and brings to the show a ton of knowledge of the industry. And boy, Jimmie, we are just so happy to have you on the show today. Just want to say welcome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here. And listen, I hope I can live up to half of what you just said. Genius. Wow. Guys, I'm not sure if I can fulfill those words. I mean, because, I've been knowing Trevor for quite some time, and I consider him a very, very knowledgeable guy in this industry. And you're my genius, man. I'm gonna keep it down because if I say something and people don't get the results they want, you said that guy was a genius. But I appreciate you talking about me that way. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here, guys.
I appreciate you coming on, man. You're a class act, man. You really are. I've gotten to know you a bit, over some time now, both personally and professionally, man. And man, you're one of the best people that I know, man. So I just really, I truly am thankful and grateful for having you on today as a guest.
Awesome.
We'll kind of dive right on into it, though, if that's cool with you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready.
One of the things that people always want to know about whenever they're viewing this show and seeing folks such as yourself that have done very successful in this industry, and they want to know, okay, what's his background? How did things come about? How did this all kind of start and come together? And how can they maybe do the same thing? So kind of give us a little bit of background, on how this all kind of came together and how you got in the industry.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, what I want to do is, first of all, give the credit back to you. I appreciate you having me on here, and the feeling's mutual. And to all of you, the people that support you and what you're doing, Trevor, you're doing great things, and you are a tremendous asset to, JW Acquisitions and Development and JW Academy, which is the actual the mentoring and coaching program that I have. We have about 500 people globally that I mentor personally, and we have a private group of about 50 people that actually, they're actually paying a monthly fee, so they get the one-on-one mentoring with me over the phone. The rest I do kind of free counseling and coaching, when I can. But since we put you in the group and you and I did a webinar with the wholesaler cheat code, we've got some tremendous responses. I feel like that you are going to be an intricate part of our development going forward. So I want to say kudos to you and to your team. Yeah, because every lead that we've generated through your system, I've heard nothing but good things about what you're doing. Okay, so I know you personally, but other people on my team know you, and the people that know me out there, guys. I'm all about integrity and character. I do value people's time, and I value the money's. We all have to make money, but I put that last. So I value the time, all right, and I value sincerity and transparency before anything else. Because in business, one thing I've learned is, building a business relationship long term it's going to far outweigh anything else, how much money you can make. Because it's not the first sale, it's the second sale or the third sale. And the relationships that you build over time, that's where you really talk about true wealth and abundance, okay? Anybody can make a quick buck. I've seen so-called gurus come and go.
That's right.
The gurus will say, buy my course and you figure out how to make the money. Well, a true leader or someone that's really going to help get you there, they're going to say, hey, listen, just follow me. You have to pay for something. It's either with your time or your money, but follow me, watch me do it. That's what a leader does. Watch me do it. I'm gonna take you by the hand. I'm gonna show you how it's done instead of just giving you a course. So let me just start from the beginning. I'm gonna go all the way back to when I was a kid. I'm gonna talk about my first mentor, if that's okay.
Awesome, absolutely, man.
And then I'll dive into how I got into this. Okay, cool. And Pedro, when I first saw you earlier, I got something to share with you, because when I heard you speak, I see that you have a lot of energy, and I know you're gonna do great things, but I'll talk about that later. But let's just start out with me at 7 years old, okay? I was born in Rochester, New York. And at the age of 7, my mom and dad, couldn't afford to live in Rochester anymore. So They packed their bags. We had a little dog. Her name was Lady. She was a collie. You know what I mean? One of those dogs that live in cold weather. So we packed up everything. My dad had this old car. I forget the name of the car. It was a blue car. I think it was a Ford. I forget the name of it. I think it might have been a Thunderbird or whatever. Anyway, we loaded up everything. Yeah, and we put the dog in the back with us. And by the time we drove to Florida to live with my grandparents, which was my mom's father and mother, the dog had shed all the hair, and like my dog died in like 3 months because she couldn't handle the weather, you know. But here's the good thing: when I got to Florida, I met the most amazing man. That man was my grandfather. I mean, you know, this man had 17 children.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, he had 17 children. Here's the powerful thing about that: he never lacked for anything, you know. And my grandmother, you know, and being a mother of that many kids, that's like a job, right? So telling her to go get a job wasn't going to work, you know. And we're talking the deep South. We're talking North Florida. You know, I'm not sure. I have to mention this about race and racism. There were some challenges in those areas. And so to see him rise above that, have his own land, his own properties, his own businesses. He was a mastermind with a second grade education. He took care of everybody, you know, and what I admired about him the most was he had integrity. Okay. That was my first master mentor. So I'm 44, I'll be 45 in a few months, but that was my greatest inspiration. Okay, so when I saw this man go out and make things happen, he was amazing. So what I saw him do was he could build a house from scratch. Second grade education, could you know, go out there and get the concrete and, you know, pour the floor, build a house, put the roof on, and he built his own house that way. Raised all those children, built a church. He built several other properties. He had property all over this, you know, the area. And we had land that was passed down to him. So he governed that land, and he, you know, he sold some of it, but the majority of it, he cultivated the land. You know, he built it, he had his own crops, and he had, you know, he even had his own tobacco barn. I mean, can you imagine a man with a second grade education had land, you know, you know what I mean?
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to imagine, because I tell folks all the time, listen, if it was left up to me to invent the wheel, we'd still, we'd be, so I can't imagine building a house or anything like that, you know, with my own hands, you know, especially without the knowledge and education and the resources that we have available now. But
absolutely. Let me go deeper. He, you know, at that time, it was in the 80s, you know, it was actually 82 because I was born in 75. But there were certain people in the community that didn't have running water in the home. In fact, on my father's side, my father was on his father's side, extremely poor. They didn't have running water in the house. So, you know, to go to the restroom, you had to go outside. But this man was able to go out. He knew how. He built this huge machine. Listen to this, guys. 15 foot in the air. He welded it together himself. So he taught himself how to be a blacksmith. He welded each piece together. He would take missing parts from you know, from lawnmowers, put the engines on them and build the pulleys. And this machine would go 100 feet in the ground, you know, and I saw this with my own eyes, and go find running water in the ground. And and people would hire him in the community to go and put down, you know, because in the country, you know, you get your own water from out of the ground. And so his house, he dug his own well, put a little pump on the top. That water was running in the house. So we had running, you know, water in the house. And he did that back in the 50s before I got here. So in the 70s, he laid that foundation. He did it for several people. And he said, Jimmy, you know, what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you the entrepreneurial mindset. I didn't understand it at that time. But I'm going to stick a pen right here. I'm going to recommend that all people, men and women, no matter who you are, when you have children and you really want them to have the right mindset, go look this up. It's best to have them get in that mindset when they're like, before they become a teenager. Preferably learn how to start a business before you're like 12 or 13. Go look at Warren Buffett, some of these guys. They were doing, you know, newspaper routes and everything when they were like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. It gets you in the mindset to, first of all, work for yourself and not rely on other people to do it for you. So he told me, he said, I'm going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. You're not going to understand until you get older. But he said, you're going to come to work with me. You're going to watch me do this. And I would see this man do this over and over again and build houses. And, you know, and he was just great, you know. And so when I saw that planted the seed in my mind that, you know what, I can have my own property. I can have my own business. All I have to do is find something that I'm passionate about. And I really don't have to really work a day in my life. Yeah, it's work, but it's not work. You know, 97% of the people are doing something on a job that they really don't like because they need the money. But he didn't do that. He loved what he did. And so he did so many other things, but I don't want to stay on that. I want to talk about how I got into real estate. But that was my biggest inspiration. And he was my first mentor. So the first thing I would tell all you guys, is that mentorship is critical. I'm not saying that because I'm a mentor. I'm saying that because, you know, it helps you circumvent the learning curve. If you have somebody, you watch them do it, and they say, you know, don't do it that way because you're going to cost yourself 5 extra years. I'd rather somebody tell me that than me to. You follow me? I'm in my 40s, and I'm just finding success in my 40s. Well, if somebody's out there, you're listening to me, you're 17 or 18 years old, get yourself a mentor. No matter what the niche is, find someone that's good at it, so you don't have to wait till you're 40 to make your first million. You could do it when you're 20 or 25. And so he died when I was 19, but I remember everything he taught me. And so I started my first business when I was like 20 years old. Okay. So I was a talented artist. I could draw very well. So when I got 18, my dad got me into the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Nice.
Yeah. I went there for 2 years, created $40,000 worth of debt because I didn't get a scholarship, got out, could not find a job. So I started saying to myself, well, you know, how am I going to become this entrepreneur? You know I have the mindset and I can't find a job as an artist. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So my second mentor, I never forget the guy's name. He was in a company called Amway. You guys know who Amway is, right?
Oh yeah.
Amway, okay.
Absolutely.
His name was David Dietz, okay?
Yep.
A white guy, you know, this guy was like my second dad, you know? I had my poor dad, which is my biological dad, love him to life at the time. But this other guy over here, you know, this white guy took me under his wing and loved me like a son, you know, and say, hey, this is what you need to do to understand how to be successful. He started taking me to Amway meetings, and it wasn't just Amway that was what intrigued me. It was these guys are reading books, they were going to seminars, they were developing mindset. That's what they don't teach you. It's not it's not the opportunity, it's the mindset.
That's so true.
Sure, opportunity is important because, you know, you don't want to jump on a wave and the wave is leading you into the ditch. You want to find something that's lucrative, okay? That's convenient, that's on the way up. But that's the most important part, was the mindset. And he taught me that. And unfortunately, I wasn't ready. I was out trying to, you know, and you guys don't know this about me. I used to be a breakdancer. So in addition to being an artist, yeah. I was in the nightclubs with all the girls and, spinning on my head. I used to do the head spins and all that.
And this see a video.
well, that was 20 years ago, you know, and I had the dreads, the dreads and all that, you know. But the thing is, what I'm getting at was the problem with me was I wasn't focused. I was, you know, so you're in Fort Lauderdale, I saw all these girls and all the stuff going on in the limelight, and I wasn't focused. I wasn't ready for success. Success is not by accident; it's on purpose. It'll come looking for you, but if you're not ready for it, what is it going to do? It's going to go to the next man, right?
Right.
And so this man came to me to mentor me. He said, Jimmy, listen, you got to stop that, you know. And guys, he even helped me get up. He owned some property at the time, so I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking this guy owns property. He could be another real estate investor, you know, mentor to me. But I didn't see that. So he gave me a place to stay in while I was struggling. I graduated, couldn't find a job, you know, and I ended up keeping my same job from college, which was Nathan's Famous. You guys ever heard of that? A restaurant?
Hot dog restaurant. Nathan's?
Yes, a hot dog restaurant.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I stayed. So I worked there for almost 3 years while I was in college, and I couldn't find another job, so I kept the job, but I wasn't making enough to pay the rent. So he was trying to mentor me and help me, taking me to seminars, and I was ducking and dodging and wouldn't pay the rent. Guess what he did? He changed the locks on the door. So here I am, because I wasn't really taking advantage of that mentor being in my life.
Right.
So when you're not ready for the success, again, it will pass you by. And he locked me out, and I pretty much became homeless for a little while. I didn't go back home. I said, how am I going to dig myself out of this thing, right? And he told me, he said, I can no longer help you, Jimmy, because you're not ready for it. So what did I have to do? I had to figure out a way to make myself ready.
You had to get your mind right.
You just said it. You're going to work your mind, or you're going to work your behind. That's a law. It's a spiritual law, but it's very natural. Okay. Whatever you sow in the ground is what you're going to get back. If you work on yourself, develop yourself, your income is naturally going to grow with it when you decide what opportunity you want to go in. It's the same with NBA players, football, baseball players. Those guys, from the time they're small, they have to have the mentality that, you know what, I got to be the best at my craft. And even when you're the best, you only pick a handful of people, you know. Right. And so that's what you have to understand, even about being an entrepreneur. So I struggled for a long, long time. I was homeless for a little while. Not afraid to say that, okay? And I woke up and I kept trying opportunities, And when I became 22 years old, this is a pivotal change in my life. I was at a nightclub dancing one night, and something happened where I'm out dancing on the floor. I'm doing these head spins, all this, and a jealous crew breakdancing crew came in. I was by myself that night, and they jumped on me and almost killed me in the club. This was in Fort Lauderdale. The name of the club downtown Fort Lauderdale at the time was called the 𝗥𝗲𝗹 𝗃𝗀𝗃, And so when I got up from that, I got on my bike, I went home, I said, I got to change my life. So I stopped dancing and started reading books. And I got a regular job as a pizza guy. I used to make the pizzas. They called me the Black Italian. Listen, when I got hired, the guy there is a young guy. I never forget him. He was from Turkey. His name was 𝗥𝗲. He said, I'm going to teach you how to make pizza. And so I said, well, thank you, Father. This is my second chance. In case you guys don't know, I'm a spiritual man. So I believe in the Most High. I believe that things happen for a reason. Okay?
Absolutely.
So I said, thank you for not letting me die young. I felt like my grandmother's prayers were over me. It kept me going because I was going on the wrong path. So mentors came, but I wasn't listening. So my second mentor was 𝗥𝗲. He taught me how to make the pizza. And he was a businessman as well. He said, man, you really need to start studying, reading more books. And then the owner of the restaurant, he was an older guy, and he was saying the same thing. You need to really start thinking about starting a business. And everybody was telling me this, but I wasn't listening. Finally, after working 70 hours a week, they was paying me $5 an hour. This was back in 1997, 98.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I was saving all my money. And then what I did was I said, I'm gonna start investing in certain seminars. So I started doing that. And it didn't happen right away. Just because you make a change, if you've been living your life wrong for 20 years, it ain't gonna happen for you. You're not gonna erase all the bad things you've done in 2 years.
Right.
What I'm saying is, because of the law of sowing and reaping, it takes time to catch up with you. So I started investing in myself, business after business, failure after failure. And I got to put this in there. When I got to be 22, I was about 97, 98. That's when I met my first wife. Okay. And that was a ready-made family for me. So here I am, a family man. She had 3 kids already, right? A lot older than me, because so you could tell I wasn't. Maybe I wasn't thinking with the best mind at the time, because
Sure.
if I could have done it over again, I would have said, you know what, I love you, you're a nice girl, but you know what, I can't do this.
Right.
But I did love her, so I married her. Spent 12 years of my life with her, but I worked 3 and 4 jobs almost every year, and I had little businesses on the side. I tried Amway, Melaleuca, Primerica, all these different multi-level marketing companies, and I also tried other things. I even started my own art business eventually. When I got the mindset, we moved to Gainesville, Florida, and I started doing portraits on campus in Gainesville, live sketches. The University of Florida, and so fast forwarding time, it was the year 2004, 2005 when the Gators were really good. They won back-to-back college championships in basketball and then one in football. So I made a killing because I would draw pictures of the players and all that. And I met a few celebrities in town. If a celebrity came to perform, I would draw a picture. They would let me backstage, because now I had the entrepreneurial mindset. Now I started a corporation. I was a really good artist, but there was a ceiling cap because I didn't have a system. It was me doing all the work. I would get on campus. I would do the free portraits, but my big money came in when they hired me to do commission jobs, And I'll tell you who I met. I met Kanye West. I did a portrait of him. He came to Gainesville, Florida in 2005 when he made the song Jesus Walks, And so I had the opportunity to go backstage, and I presented him the picture. And I would draw the picture and just give it to him and try to take a picture with him. He wouldn't let me take a picture with him, but I took a picture with Spike Lee. I drew a picture of Spike Lee. He came to Florida and spoke. They let me go backstage. I drew a picture, took it with him. And so what I was trying to do is I was trying to brand myself. And what I realized, when you meet people, you're not, just because you meet a celebrity doesn't make you a celebrity. It's not going to make you rich. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that you have to build a system. And so I made some money, but when I was with my first wife, it seemed like there was a cap over how high I can go. And it wasn't necessarily her fault. It was my mindset had to change more. And I was in a marriage where we were not in agreement. So I would tell everyone out there, when you connect with someone, you and her need to, you men and female, if you guys decide to get married, you have to be on the same page. If you read the book, Think and Grow Rich, one of the greatest, there's 30 reasons for failure when you're an entrepreneur, especially in real estate. And one of them is having the wrong spouse. Okay, because what happens is you're thinking a certain way, they're thinking another way, and it brings division. And you believe it or not, when you don't have a cohesive system together, if you have 5 people that are with you on your team, that's great. But if you have your spouse who's in disagreement, it's just trouble. You know what I mean?
It can all just unravel and fall apart. I've been there. I can't, for the longest time, I can't tell you how many bad relationships I was in where
absolutely
I was here and we weren't here. And again, I was thinking with the wrong mind too. And
exactly
guilty of it.
Right.
Okay. So
I think we all been guilty of it.
The next thing you know, I'm stuck in a bad relationship. I'm committed. But it's just, you see all the writing on a wall. It's okay. Well, if you're not meeting here, it's just going to fall apart. And it really does. And it's happened in every single bad relationship I've ever had in the past. And at some point a few years ago, I said, unless we're meeting here, head on, it's just, you're not going to be right for me because I know that it's going to fall apart.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, that was perfect what you said. And it's no criticism to the other person, because again, if they're not changing their mindset, you can't blame them for having the wrong mindset for success. Like my first wife was always saying things like, I want to have just enough for us to survive or have, a roof over our head. Now, the problem with that statement is if you are going to be an entrepreneur, we solve problems for other people.
That's right.
Real estate, or no matter what it is. If you are just solving your own problems, your income is going to be there. You're not thinking about helping, let's say, another 30,000 people, because with the internet, it's easy to do. Or another 10 people. You're just thinking about your house. I use the old phrase, you're for no more. And that's her mindset. It was like, so Jimmy, just go get a job. I heard that so many, even though I was working 3 and 4 jobs and doing my business on it, it wasn't enough for that person. Because they were just thinking about themselves. And I said, wait a minute. After reading books with Warren Buffett and, again, Think and Grow Rich tells it all. When you start thinking about, and there's so many other books you can read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's another good book. You start thinking that, okay, if I don't think about building a business where it's going to impact the lives of others, my income's always going to be limited. Boy, that's why you have 95% of the people on the planet, they're just trying to make an income for themselves and their family, which is nothing wrong with it. But don't expect to be a millionaire. Don't expect to have overflow in your life where you can say, you know what, I can take this. My wife and I last December, Bass, we didn't have to work and do anything because we had built and helped so many other people. Our income came in, and her birthday's in December, but we celebrated the entire month for her. Every day we did something different for her birthday. Why? Because we had invested our time into other people, and we were able to do that. So don't expect to be, overly successful with the mindset of it's just about me. And so that's why that marriage didn't work. Now, no criticism to my first wife, but we were together 12 years. I helped the kids, get up to some size, and it was a horrible, tragic divorce. Because when you divorce, it's almost like someone dies. Okay. Right. But what I had to do was I had to refocus, rethink, regauge my energy and my enthusiasm to keep pushing. So I packed my bags, listen to this. And there comes a point sometimes where you really have to operate in something I call faith. Those of you who believe in the Bible, go read it. It's Hebrews chapter 11. Okay. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Faith simply means that he says something and you make a declaration out of your mouth and you do it. Faith is an action word. If you want to be a millionaire, you got to do what the rich people do. You want to be a football player, you need to be on the, you need to start when you're this small, learning how to throw, catch, whatever. And you can't just talk about it.
That's right.
You talk, you speak, and then you put action together. So I put my faith on I got to move. I got to change. I was in Florida at the time, and I packed my bags. I didn't have any money. Remember, I had a local business in Gainesville where it wasn't residual income. I had to be on campus drawing, and I did make money, some residual income on some of the drawings I drew. I drew Bob all that, but I had to stay locally to sell it. I had to leave everything, and I packed my bags and went to New York City.
Man,
listen to this. Didn't know anybody in New York City. Now remember, I was born in Rochester. That's upstate. New York City is a different beast.
That's right.
But if you want to be an actor, there's 2 major places you should go to. If you're African American, Tyler Perry just built the biggest studio in the whole world right here in Atlanta, Georgia. You need to come here, right? If you're anybody else, Hollywood. Now you can be white and come here too. I'm just saying for African Americans, it's big here, but you got to go where you got to change your surroundings and get where things are happening. I wanted to be very big at not just public speaking, but I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I really wanted to prosper at starting a business. And I understood that, when you go to a city like New York, there's so many opportunities there. And I wanted to find a new wife, right? Because let me tell you, I'm not the kind of guy that can just live single. That's not, that's not for me. I have to have a wife. That's just me, right? So I moved here, got off the bus, and this is a true story. By the time I got to New York, I didn't have money to eat. Because my friend helped me get on the bus. I took the bus up there, got up there, place called Port Authority on 42nd Street. I had 2 bags, I had 4 suits. You couldn't tell that, that I was broke because I didn't, hold on one second. I didn't act like it. You got to act like you got it until it shows up, right? So I'm on 42nd Street. It's in August. In Florida, it's always warm. At night, it dropped to 50 degrees in New York. I'm walking around the city trying to figure out, I'm going to different churches asking, you know what? I'm from out of town. I need a couple nights to stay somewhere until I find a shelter. Everyone kept saying no. I left my books. And I had like 5 books with me and I had like three bags. I left them in a Catholic church and I told the person there, I'll be back. I come back, my bags was gone. This is my interest in New York City, all right? Oh. I come back, the sun's going down. I go pick up my stuff. Right next to it was a Burger King. A guy, this is why I tell you, faith, when you act in faith and do something by faith, things will happen for you, but you got to do something, okay? Right. A guy comes out of Burger King. He's the manager. He says, I can tell by the way you're dressed and the way you act, you're not from here. He said, come inside of Burger King. So you might get robbed on 42nd Street. New York's a big place, but he said, this is not the South. Come on inside. I'm going to help you. He said, I want you to stay here in Burger King tonight, upstairs. He said, tomorrow, I'm going to give you some money to get around town so you can get around the city. And then what you're going to do is, I want you to pay this forward. When you succeed in New York City and you start making things happen, just pay it forward to somebody else. But you sleep here tonight, get up in the morning. I have a good friend who works in the shelter system. I want you to get up, go across the street, right? And I want you to talk to him and he's going to drive you to the shelter so you never have to sleep one night in New York City homeless. Man. He said, you'll get 3 square meals a day, all right? And you're going to be fine. And he said, I was in a situation. He said, I'm Puerto Rican. He said, my mom died about a year ago and I had to fly to Puerto Rico. He said, I was managing Burger King and Burger King told me I had 3 days to get back here. And I went to go bury her and I got to Puerto Rico and I didn't have the money to get back. He said, I'm at the airport, my head down. He said, I had faith to get there. I had to get there. It's my mom's death. He said, I'm crying at the airport. He said, another guy come taps me on the shoulder. He said, what's wrong? He said, I got to get back to work in New York, but I don't have the money. So the guy reached in his pocket, gave him the money to buy the ticket to get back to New York. The guy told him to pay it forward. He said, so I'm paying it forward to you. He gave me like $20. I forgot what it was. He said, but that's enough for you to get around the city, get yourself a weekly pass. And he said, this is New York, man. You can make it here. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, And so what that did, it just gave me encouragement to know that, if you help other people, that's my point, it's going to always come back. And so from that point on, my mindset was pay it forward. So now I'm gonna fast forward to now how I met Arlene and how I got into real estate. I know I took y'all around the curve,
That's okay, man. I want to hear the backstory.
That's a great story, man.
It's a misconception that things have always been good for you, right?
Absolutely.
Just a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
And most successful folks that you'll ever meet, have went through some trials and tribulations and have had some pain in their life.
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it.
And when I know we talked earlier, but hey, when you're at a success point, that pain is what allows you to hold on to it because you don't want to go back there. You know what I mean? So
you better believe it. Yes,
continue on, Jimmy. Man, okay. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost done.
Too.
Thanks a lot. I'm almost done, but I really wanted to give you the gist of where I'm coming from. Like, again, like you said, the misconception when they see people succeed, they go, oh, he must have scammed someone. I can't tell you, people call me a scam artist and a fraud and don't know what they're saying when they say that. They have no idea that, no, I've been defrauded. I've been scammed. I've hooked up with the wrong people. I've had some bad things. I'm not going to complain about it, but those things have happened to me and I'm not going to go talking about it because you know what? Anybody that does that to me, the Most High will take care of them. I got to stay focused. I got to stay positive. I can't let their negative energy that's in their life be projected on me to push me down, And so back to the story, I didn't stay one night homeless. The next day I got up, went to shelter, and here's what I did. They said, okay, now that you're in the shelter, we're going to take you up to a place called Ward's Island. It's in Manhattan, but it's right next to the worst prison probably in the country, a place called Rikers Island. So Rikers Island was on one island. This is all Manhattan. And then Ward's Island was right next to it. So all the prisoners, when they came out of there, they would go to Ward's Island if they didn't have a place to stay because Ward's Island was a free place to stay. So I was in there with a bunch of prisoners. But here's the thing about that. Because I understand how the systems work, and I understand that sometimes people are in a disposition and they're going through something, okay? And because the way the system's set up, I didn't look down on those guys. I understood that, you know what, I had to figure out a way to pay it forward. I can't be scared of, you know, I quote unquote my own people. I saw a lot of people that looked like me there. And a lot of them, you know, believe it or not, 25, 30% of them were not mentally stable because they, you know, drug addictions and things of that nature. So what I did, my attitude was, I'm going to go there. I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to preach to them if they allow me to. You know what I mean? They're going to see me. I'm in a homeless shelter with a suit on, a pinstripe. So they're like, "Who's this guy? Are you a pimp or what?" You know, and I said, "No, I'm not a pimp." You know, it's everybody with a suit on. It's not a, you know what I'm saying? But I was there for about 2 months. Okay, and while I was there, they gave me an option. They said, "Listen, you can work." And here's how I met Arlene. They said, "You can work in the welfare system. What we'll do is we'll pay you $1 an hour. You got to work 40 hours a week. We're going to give you train fare for the month. We'll give you a stipend of $1 per hour. So you'll get $40 a week. You'll get train fare for the month. And we'll take you and move you to Brooklyn in what we call an outhouse. Not an outhouse, pardon me, a rooming house, you know, like a boarding house. It's like 15 guys in there. You get a place to stay and they'll pay for that for the month." I said, "I'll take it." They said, "What kind of work do you want to do?" I said, I want to work in the welfare system. I want to see how it works." So what they do, they sent me to Brooklyn, and I would go to where, people go and collect the stamps and, you know what I mean? All the help from the government. And you had a lot of people, all types of people. I mean, when I say all types, not just people that look like me, it was all kind of people coming in there. And a lot of them were really hurting financially. They couldn't pay their bills. And the thing what people don't know about New York City is in the wintertime, your light bill could drastically go up because of the heat. Mm-hmm. It could be $200 a month in the summer and $800 in the winter through a company called Con Ed. So they put me right beside the woman that called the shot. She could pick up the phone if somebody's lights were off. She could make a phone call and have it turned back on. And I was right beside her. So I would go in there, and I'm looking at the system. And my point is, it breeded passion for me to help people. This is where this whole calling to, not just when I got into real estate, I knew it was a way for me to help people own property and create wealth. So I saw all this poverty. I saw what they were going through, and I was, it was making an impact on me. And there were certain times where, I'm going up I have to go to the 6th floor every day, and there's a bunch of people on the 2nd and 3rd floor, and I have people coming say, "Hey, sir," because they thought I was like the main guy, and I was nobody. I was just working the assistant. I was an assistant, but the perception, because I had on the suit, was I'm running the place. They come and say, "Jimmy, can you please get me out of the situation I got?" And I'm like, you know what? Get in line like everybody else, and I wish I can help you, but I can't. You have to go through a system, a process. One lady followed me to the 6th floor. She was like, "You're going to help me today." So I go in there and I talk to the woman. The woman said, "No, we're not going to turn the lights back on." And when I saw that, it put a hole in my heart, because this young lady, had a newborn. And of course, we don't know the whole situation, why she was in that predicament. But when you don't, and it's cold in the wintertime and their lights are off and that's what really propelled me. I said, I got to find something where I can help people come out of that. Man. And I knew I had to do something with mindset, because that young lady was in a system. And if she don't change something with her mindset and begin to get some education, not regular education like going to school K through 12. I'm talking financial education, how to invest, how to start a business, those kind of things.
How our education system should be, by the way. I
Absolutely.
I wish that instead of taking biology and algebra and all this stuff, they would have gave me a business class, an accounting class, a socializing class, and all this other stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm really going to use in the real world, but
absolutely,
that's a whole nother thing right there.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And but not to knock the system, but it's not geared to teach us how to take care of ourselves. Really, it teaches you how to go and rely on another system. And so after seeing that for a couple of months, I started going to church there. And that's when I met my queen, Arlene, I was sitting down reading a book. And she was going to this church at Madison Square Garden. I looked up, and in my spirit, I heard God say, the Most High say to me, "That's going to be your wife right there. Get up and go talk to her." And I stopped what I was doing. I went over and I said hello to her. And guess what? I've been with her ever since. That was
never looked back.
Yeah, that was May 2000, awesome. May 2009. Yes. And here's how I knew she was mine. When I started talking to her, the vision lined up. She was a fashion designer for several years, about 20 years in New York. She did work for Jones in New York. She went to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. She wasn't an entrepreneur yet, but she had that mindset. She wanted things for herself. She was self-sufficient. She really had goals and dreams of her own. And I'm the kind of guy, you want to be with somebody who's compatible, somebody who believes in themselves. Now, if you find a young lady or a man finds a woman that's not ready yet, you can teach and grow with that person, that's fine too. But for me, I had been with a woman that was kind of like not really positive, and I found a positive woman in my life. And whatever I tried to do, guess what Arlene did? She was with me. So I said, honey, let's start a finance company. So we got married a little over a year later. We started a finance company right there in New York before we moved back to Florida. And we made some money, but we failed miserably, you know, but she was right there. We put our heads together and we really, 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 you know, found a way to make things happen. We kept trying, failing. And about 50 businesses later, we moved back to Florida, you know, and I always wanted to do real estate, but I needed a mentor. So I'm going to tell you about my third mentor. I had other mentors too. I have about 7 or 8, but this is the main one that got me where I am today. And I'm going to talk about how I started the group. So me and her, you know, the finance company failed. Okay. The reason it failed is because I didn't have the right connections and I needed more mentorship on finance. When you go out, you're trying to help people get business loans and you know, people are paying you with their credit card, things of that nature. You have to make sure, first of all, everything's right legally, because if something goes wrong, you can get sued and you can go to jail, right? Right. I didn't have the right coaching and teaching on somebody showing me, okay, you're going to go out and help people borrow money and you're going to be a broker, do it right. If you're doing it wrong, something goes wrong, then you look like the scam artist. And then, you know, so we had to go back and we had to think things through and say, honey, we need to get more education on this thing. I really need a mentor, you know? So when we got to Florida, we kept trying different businesses. We kept trying different things. And we moved, when I came back to Florida, we moved to a place called Palm Bay, Florida. Now, this is a little part you probably didn't know. I probably might've mentioned it before. My wife and I came back as ministers. When we got married, you know, we've been ministers for several years. Okay, we're apostles, so, quote unquote, basically an apostle. If you really look at the term up, it's in a Greek word is apostolos. It's someone who's sent. We are not church builders necessarily, but we go out and we mentor and coach people spiritually, okay, and teach them how to be evangelists and pastors. And what we do is we actually teach and release them into the kingdom to do kingdom work, okay? Right. So we sat under another ministry and to help that ministry build their ministry up, you know, and we were in church like 6 days a week, you know, and I had a little business on the side, all this stuff's going on, and it got very draining, so we were doing too much. So after doing that for some time, we said, you know what? Maybe we're called more to help people financially. Maybe sitting in a pulpit preaching, and you know, that's for some people, but that may not be for us. Maybe we're apostles to the marketplace. Maybe we're called, you know, and we had to really search what we're really called to do. We couldn't do everything. So I realized, you know what? There's more ways to help people than just preaching to them. And the biggest thing that's missing everywhere is there's a lack of access to finances, especially in the Black community. Now, a lot of my students are white. They're from other places. I don't care who they are. I help all of them. But the burden for me was to help our people in my communities when I saw the poverty. It was in my heart to help them, especially in church. You know, you have pastors saying, you know what, give, but the pastor is not going out working. Everybody else is working, bringing their checks. And that bothered me. So I said, you know what, honey, let's do something about this. Let's stop sitting in a pulpit preaching. Let's go out and make an impact. Okay. And all of my students know this about me. I want them to be more successful than me. So what we did, we said, you know what, we're going to stop. We're going to keep coaching and mentoring people on Facebook. And we started a little Facebook group, started mentoring with ministry. And my wife said to me one day, she said, you know, now that you have that going, start advertising, get yourself out there and keep doing the finance business. So I did that. I was doing finance, and here I go. I got a phone call. Here we go. Got a phone call from an ad I placed on Craigslist. This guy saw my ad. He said, man, I see that you do real estate financing. But he said, but what you need to be doing is real estate buying and selling of property. You should get into multifamily, fix and flip, buy and hold. I said, I don't know anything about it. He said, well, I can see how you wrote your ad. He said, I'll be your coach. I'll show you what to do. So sometimes when you find a coach, it can be by accident, but it's on purpose because you're looking. We pray, you know, we're praying, Father, lead us. You know, when you're praying, you're believing something, you got to be active. So if I didn't put the ad out, I would have never found the guy. So he's right here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. But I was in Florida at the time. He said, you know, do this, this, and this, and this is what you're going to do. And he started sending me all these properties from all over the country that were what we used to say off market. These properties were not daisy chain. He said, Jimmy, this is what you do. You know, go find us some buyers and we're going to make some big money. And his name is Robert. Can't give his last name, but he's very successful here. Mm-hmm. And he made a ton of money in Buffalo, New York years ago, and he's making a ton of money here. But he took me by the hand. He said, these are the rules of the game. He said, single family is not, he said, single family is good. He said, but now because the banks are so particular about single family homes, it's best to buy multifamily. And I said, why? He said, well, think about this. He said, if you buy one property and you don't live in it, you got to rent it out. You got to rely on one person to come and rent it out or do Airbnb. He said, but if you buy a multifamily property of 100 and you got 100 people there paying $1,000 a month, that's $100,000 of revenue. He said, if 5 people leave, that's still 95 grand. So it's better. He said banks they're more easier to give money when they know they're going to be getting their money back.
You know, that I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I've had that conversation with a lot of folks in the past as well. Is that man, you know, it's weird to think about, but you know, folks or banks, you know, are more likely to give you money for a
absolutely,
you know, unit housing, you know, a 10-person apartment or 10-unit apartment, you know, to loan you money for a one rental house, because again,
absolutely,
just like you said, if that renter moves out, okay, now you're responsible for paying that debt.
Absolutely,
that's 100% of the money that was coming in. But whereas if you've got a 10-unit apartment or whatever, I'm just using that as an example,
absolutely,
and one person moves out, you've still got. They still know that 90% of their money, you know, that they're going to capitalize on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say this, he was talking about what he knew best. Now, here's what I tell people. Don't be discouraged from single family because you need a mentor that knows multifamily. But if you're going to do single family, go all out with it. You just need to know what's the best markets. Like Dallas, Texas, where you are, it's probably one of the hottest markets on the planet. So get yourself a mentor that knows the market, knows how to get the leads. I'm not discouraging people from doing single family. It's just that when you get into the niche, you need to find a mentor that knows what the heck they're talking about. If you're going to do tax, you do tax liens. You know, you need to find somebody that understands that industry and how to get access to good deals. So getting the information and the knowledge on what you're doing to be the best at your craft, to be ahead of the curve, to be ahead of the competition, that's what he was trying to drive home. I said, I understand that. I said, but I want to, now that I saw him coaching me, I was getting inspired to help other, because again, I had this mindset of giving back, but you can't give what you don't have. You cannot coach somebody on something you don't know, right? Or if you haven't been through it. So he coached me on that. And that was the first thing I started mentoring other people with, because I understood how to go and do an NDA/fee agreement. That's the first thing you have to get. If you find a property and you want to make sure that buyer and seller don't connect and go around you, you need to get the non-disclosure, non-circumvent contract/fee agreement, which means when they sign that, they agree to pay you, 3% the buyer is going to pay, and they agree not to go around you. And if you don't get that contract, you put those two people together, guess what? In the court of law, if let's say it's a $100 million property, that's a $3 million payout for you. But guess what? Without the paperwork,
be out of luck.
yes, and I've seen it happen. And he told me, he said, yeah, I lost a ton of money that way. This is how you do it. So that's the power of a mentor.
Sure.
And so he taught me, slow down, make sure you know all the facts, and paperwork is key. Because in the court of law in this country, if you don't have documentation, you're in big trouble. So he got me going, got me inspired. And guess what I did? I said, you know what? Now that I know this, I'm going to get a mentor for this, mentor for that. I have a new mentor that just came in my life. And he teaches me now how to go out and buy online businesses for cheap. Almost like buying a McDonald's. McDonald's going to make a lot more money, but of course you can pay a lot less money. And when you make your real estate income, you take that and you funnel it into something else.
That's
so,
right.
so where we're at now is my wife and I, we decided, you know what, the rest of our lives, we're going to make money, but we want to make sure the people around us make money. They're successful. So here's what happened. Last year, you probably, how long have we been knowing each other? About a year now?
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I met him the year before. Okay. So the year before, about 2 years. It was about 2 years. My wife said 3 years. I think it was 2 years. Okay. Okay. My wife said it was 3 years ago because her mom died 3 years ago, and that's when we started.
3 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
You better listen to her.
Exactly. Pedro said, I better listen to you. So it was 3 years ago. So what we did was, we were going online, we were going to Facebook, we were looking around, and we were joining these other groups, okay? And so what I started doing is going to these other groups and trying to get a feel for the other wholesalers, because, when you're on Facebook, you want to try to work with people that want to work now. You don't want people that are just BSing around and, maybe one day, they send you a property, you don't hear from them again. So I was making my way around in the other groups, start building an email list. So when I did that, and I had the mentor, and he was showing me, I would send these properties to people, and we were getting some deals put together. A lot of deals, by the way, 99% of them fell apart. So I want to throw that in there. People think you're going to put a deal together and that's just it. No, somewhere along the way, if all the ducks are not in a row, most of those bigger deals, there's a little loophole, you know, and it just falls apart at the end. And he told me that. So I started going to these other groups, building my email list, and I'll tell you how I did it. I had another mentor that came right after him. All he did was he had properties. He could get properties in all 50 states, off-market deals. He had a good business relationship with auction.com and all those companies. So he would get because he knew the vice president of that company. So he could go in and send me a list once a month with, I'm talking properties in, Alpharetta, Georgia, and, Rochester, New York, any state. Sometimes the list was like 4,500 properties, all 50 states. And he gave me that list. So what I would do is I would go in this group and say, hey, listen, I have an off-market list coming in, twice a month. And I would say, send me your email. And I'll never forget this. One of my groups that I was in, one of the groups, I got 800 comments, guys. 800 emails. That's how I built my email list. So 800 emails. So sometimes it would take me, I was still working in the daytime doing different things. So I'd come on at night and be up half the night because I had to respond to each email and say, hey, I got your email, check your email, and then I had to go back and explain to them, listen, when you're doing these kind of properties, they're off market, but you have to close fast. If you're not a cash buyer, this is the big problem with wholesalers. They feel they can buy those properties and they're not ready. Most of those properties, you have to put down earnest money, sometimes $2,500. Okay. And if you can't perform within 7 days, you can lose that $2,500. And then you have to make sure that money goes into escrow. Then you have to show proof of funds. It's not financing. So if someone has $300,000 and $400,000, they can pick up 4 or 5 properties for $50,000 a piece. That's how it was. And so I had several people that they would come in, oh, Jimmy, I ain't got that kind of money. Well, why do you want the properties? This is, when you do those kind of properties, sometimes they have tax liens, they have liens on them, they have problems with them. And so we had a lot of problems. I was learning that kind of business is only reserved for people who have a little money, because it's not like you can get a loan for it. They don't want you to wait 30 days. These are quick cash deals, you know what I mean? And within a week or two, those properties were gone. So I built a huge list. That's the good thing about it, to like 2,000 people. So guess what happened? People started getting jealous. Okay, guys, listen, if people are not talking about you, saying bad things about you, if you don't have some haters, then you're not doing enough.
That's right.
Let me say that again. If you are not hustling hard, if you're hustling and you think you're getting it done and you're doing big things supposedly, and you don't have any criticism at all, you're not doing enough. Okay, I had a guy jump on one of my posts and he said, you're a scam artist. Started swearing and cursing on my post. And do you know, everybody jumped on the bandwagon and called me a scam artist just that fast. It can take a lifetime to build your reputation and your credibility and your integrity. It takes one ignorant person to tear it down. Here's what I always tell people when that criticism comes though. Let them talk all they want. Just make sure what they're saying is not true. Because remember, you can't stop people from talking. Mm-hmm. But if it's true, then you need to go back and evaluate yourself and make sure you're doing the right thing. So the guy did that, and here's what happened. The administrators from the group took his side, started checking me out. I found out later the group administrator was just jealous that I had more traffic than everybody else. Because I had a niche, and sometimes I was offering a free vacation because I had a business relationship with the business where, you pay for the taxes, you get a 3-day vacation. Mm-hmm. If you could get a property and a contract, had all kinds of, because again, when we're serving people, you want to be able to offer them something. And I always say, you can't be like the other 95,000 wholesalers. You got to set yourself apart. And I was doing that. And so they blocked me from that group, called me a scam artist. And when I contacted the person, they said, yeah, everybody's saying you're a scam artist. You must be one. I said, no, I'm not one. I said, please put me back in the group. By that time I had other products I was selling, clickbait products, and I was making some money. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, if I put you back in the group, I want you to do this, this, and this. And it was trying to bribe me. I said, when my wife and I said, no, guess what the administrator did? She blocked me from the group. Not just that. She took a picture of my wife and both of our faces, and spread it all over the internet that we were scam artists. Jimmy and his wife are major scam artists. All over the internet, not just my group or other pages, but they went to all the other REI Facebook groups mm-hmm. and told them, blacklist this guy, sock it to him, don't let him in the group. And so I was going to the other groups trying to get in, and they would say, no, you're blacklisted. You're a scam artist. The good thing about it was publicity, but it was the wrong type. And it was horrible for me. And let me tell you guys one more thing. There was a very successful real estate investor. If I said his name, you guys will know who it is. But one thing about my wife and I, We don't get a thrill in tearing down other people. We don't do that. Just because other people get a thrill out of it, we don't.
That's right.
I could tear him down right now, but what does that do for me? Nothing. Nothing. And I found out the other day, this same guy, people were saying that he's booting everybody to the group and he's a fraud. And I told my wife, I said, listen, people are going to talk, just like they talked about me. And I said, I pray what he's doing, what they're saying is not true, but we're not going to repeat. We're not going to go talk bad about him because other people are. We're going to keep doing the right thing. And this guy is famous. If I said the name, you'd be like, that guy? Now, I was just coming up. He jumped on a post and I saw the post, a thread. He's like, yeah, Jimmy's a joke. Don't know me personally. And when people attack you, they don't know you personally. It says two things about them. They're quick to jump on the negative bandwagon, and it's something about what's going on inside. They take the time to be negative. That's projecting something from within. If they take the time to be negative toward a person they don't know, it's something inside. That's why you have to and those people will never be successful until they change that mindset. So I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon because I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to go up higher. Mm-hmm. So it was, and for the first time in a long time, me as a grown man, I'm going to tell you the second time I cried in years, which was the other day when Kobe Bryant died. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. But I shed a tear because all the people I helped, I built my email list up to like 3,000 people, and all these people were communicating with me via email. Whenever the scam broke, I saw all these threads of all this negative stuff, and those people disappeared. They didn't jump on. Maybe 5 people, I can count on one hand, 5 people out of maybe 10,000 who knew me jumped on there and defended me. The other ones were ghosts. So isn't it funny that you could serve people, and you pour your heart out to them, and they change, how they feel about you once they hear something. What it lets me know is they haven't transformed themselves enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna stand with that man or that woman until they've proven to be negative, not just based on somebody else's word, and that's what hurt me. So my wife said, stop looking at the comments, because when you people start criticizing you look at the comments, even though you don't believe it, it affects you. So I left the internet. I left Facebook for 2 weeks. Guess what she told me? That's why it's good to have a good wife. She said, Jimmy, get off your butt. Listen, toughen up. Don't be weak. I need you to go out there and start your own Facebook group. I said, honey, I'm not sure if I can do it. She said, you better. And do you know, over a year later, we just started September 2018, was it? 2018. And we grew 1,000 first month, second month, like 3,000, fourth month, like 5,000. And now we're about 17,000 members. And guys, incredible. Listen to this. Then I found out that a lot of the haters, because I have a whole team now that watches things for me, about a good 20 or 30 haters were hanging out in the group. And I say haters, these are the same ones that we're talking about. Yes. And what I say to them is kudos. Hopefully they saw that what would transpire wasn't true, but whether they believe it or not, I'm going to move on anyway. And so that's how I started coaching. And if you go to my page, this, I just give out tons of free content to them. In addition to that, I have a private group, because when people see all the free content, they may want more information. They want to get me on the phone for 20 minutes, and they want to book me anytime they want to get some counseling. Hey, Jimmy, how do I put this property in the contract? How do I get good, comps? Is this a good investment? And they want the mindset transformation, which is something that I started focusing on, because I realized a lot of these younger people, even the older guys, don't have it here. They want to get me one-on-one. I said, well, you join this group over here, you got to pay a fee for my time. And so that's where we are right now. And so I love it. Now, the people that joined me last year in 2019 to help make the group a success in the private group, I've given them a free year, 2020. Those people that joined last year, for the entire 2020 year, they can call me, to call my team. And if they need to get me, they can book an appointment and talk to me for free. Because I said, listen, you guys stuck with me in 2019. You helped me make this a success. Here's my reward for you. 2020, all of you guys, you can talk to me. We can talk. If you want to go over something with a property, I'll give you my advice, and I'm there for you. Because when you serve people and they reward you back by paying you and serve you back, those are the people I want to ride with forever. Sure. Listen, it's not the first sale; it's the second sale. This is a business relationship business. It really is. If you think about it, real estate, real people, real estate, real property, real title companies, real contracts, real attorneys. So when you hear people say, I want to make $1 million as a wholesaler, but I don't want to talk to nobody. or that person's a piece of crap and I can't work with that. That's the first sign that they don't understand this thing. You have to deal with people and you have to have a right attitude about it, because the money is going to be, the residual money you're going to make is a reflection of your attitude. Your attitude is going to determine latitude. And let me tell you, man, it's 95% attitude, 5% skill. Okay. And let me just shift gears and talk about Kobe Bryant. That was the second time I cried in a long time. I'm going to talk about the Mamba mentality, you know, the Black Mamba. Mm-hmm. He got that title after all the bad things happened in 2003 with the rape charges. I got to bring all it up so you know where it came from. He said, you know what, since everybody hates me, and whether he did it or not, I was not there. I'm not trying to dispute that. But after winning 3 championships, going into the 4th year, they got beat by the San Antonio Spurs. I remember it like yesterday because I was a big Magic Johnson fan. When Magic left, I started following Kobe. And
it was the same way with me, man.
You understand that?
I'm a huge Lakers fan.
Absolutely. Okay. And so after it happened, you know, those allegations took place. And I'm not trying to be political here. So if a man rapes a woman, I think that's crazy, and that person should be stopped. I was not there. I don't know. All I know is he never got convicted of it. So I don't want to get into that. But what I'm saying is, he said after that, he said, you know what, since everybody's looking at me this way, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to outwork everybody. Everybody kept saying that, you know what, you're nothing anyway. Without Shaq, you couldn't have won those 3 championships. Now, Shaq just said the other day, without Kobe, I couldn't have won. So Kobe said, you know what, I'm going to go on an assassin mentality, although I'm talented. And this is what he said, guys. This is the power of spoken word. This is why I tell people, you're going to get what you speak. He told Tracy McGrady, when they both came out of high school, because Tracy McGrady came out of high school as well. Mm-hmm. So live with Tracy McGrady. He looked at Tracy McGrady. Tracy said, what do you want out of this thing? He said, I want to be better than Michael Jordan. And I want to die young so I can become immortal and leave a legacy. Immortalized. He said that.
Man,
that's
you never say, listen, if you want to live to be 70 or 80, you want to be a billionaire, you got to start. Because what happens is you set a law in motion when you start talking. I don't know if he ever changed those laws, because I guarantee you his daughter they said she was going to be better than him at the 3-point shot. He taught her, you know, can you imagine having Kobe Bryant as a dad? And she was 13, she was in position to be better than him. That's what they said. And she was on the plane. So if he would have rethought that, he'd probably be like, you know what? No, I want to stay around till I'm 70 or 80 to see her surpass me. But he said that. I'm not sure if he ever retracted. So fast forward time. So what he did, back to what I was saying, he went on an assassin's mentality. He said, I'm not trying to be your friend on the court. I'm trying to annihilate you. Just like they annihilated my character, every opponent I go against. And he said, listen, Shaq can go. I'm going to rebuild this thing. We're going to move some things around. I'm going to get Coach Phil Jackson back, because, you know, nobody wanted to deal with this guy. He had to go back and get Phil Jackson to coach again, you know? And 2008, when they went up against Boston, they got beat. Tears in his eyes. And he said, the Mamba mentality, if you look at a black Mamba, that's the only snake that will literally run you down. Now, I grew up in the country, so I would be out fishing, and moccasins, you know, a moccasin's a dangerous snake too, very venomous. Oh, yeah. It will come out of the water after you, but you have to be in its territory. But if you just go Google the black Mamba or watch some of the videos, you don't have to do anything. It will just take off after you.
They're just vicious.
Listen, and they stand up high. You know, the cobra stands up high, but the black Mamba, I think one-on-one, the black Mamba might get now the cobra is the king of snakes. But one-on-one, in a fair fight, same size, black Mamba was snapping 3 or 4 times. It's just that fast. But what I'm saying is, he said, I'm gonna be in vicious mode. I'm gonna attack. And they rebuilt the Lakers, and they won 2 more without Shaq. So he said, you know what? When I retire, I'm gonna take that same mentality. So he set a standard. That's why all these guys and myself were so shook up, because he set the bar so high on, you know, outworking everybody. The guy who coached him in the 2012 Olympics, I think was coach for the Syracuse Orangemen. He said, when I saw Kobe Bryant work out and got the team to get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, go look this stuff up, man. He said, I've never seen a work ethic like it in my life. He said, these young guys, this millennial generation, they don't know what work is. He said, this guy got up, and even though he was talented, that wasn't enough. And what am I saying, guys? Talent is not enough. If you're a real estate investor or whatever you're doing, it's not enough. Because what's going to happen when you know, like Kobe, you know, tore his Achilles, or Michael Jordan got old? It's the assassin mentality. I'm going to push, attack. And I teach that. You know, you got to do what the 98% are not willing to do. And so when he left, listen to this, guys, when he left the game of basketball in 2016, he shifted. He said, you know what? Let me go and put my time and energy into my family, to my girls, and to being an entrepreneur. You know, if you go look at one of his videos, he had in the back Steve Jobs and some other guys, Bill Gates. And they said, why you got these guys up? He said, now I want to do stories. I want to do businesses. I want to take that same Mamba mentality into business. And he won an Oscar. How do you write an Oscar storyteller? He don't know a thing about that. But I'm just saying the mentality is what did it. Now, listen to this. When he died, they just assessed his total wealth. The guy is a billionaire, 1.5 billion, somewhere in there. Because, you know, what he did was, and this is what a lot of us, especially black men, I have to say this about black men, we have not, it happens when you grow up. When you're not taught, I was fortunate to have, my grandfather to teach me, to teach me about wealth. But a lot of us don't have.
Oh, did it freeze?
Uh-oh.
Jimmy, are you there? It was getting good.
Man.
Oh, well, technical issues. It happens. He's going to be back here anytime soon. So
yeah, he'll be back here shortly. I'm sure they're actually having some storms there in Atlanta. And one of the things I'll say to the folks that are listening right now is that, you know, just to show you that Jimmy is a doer and an action taker and does what he says that he's going to do. Of course, we've had him scheduled as a guest for a bit now, and he didn't want to miss it for the world. So they've got tornado warnings, watches, all this stuff going on there in Atlanta, and the power went off. He's had no electricity there for the past couple of hours or so. So what does he do? Instead of, you know, texting me and saying, hey man, can we reschedule? Him and his wife went down the street and found a Starbucks that had electricity and Wi-Fi and so forth. And he said the show goes on. Now, you know, granted, you know, Starbucks is not impenetrable either to storms and so forth. And so maybe it's rolling through right now. I'm not really sure. But, you know, one of the things that he was getting at is, you know, you've got to have your mind right, and you've got to take risks and you've got to be an action taker. You know what I mean? And you've really got to just go out there and set your mind right to be the best. Forget competing against other folks, you know, compete against yourself. Folks, you know, I've heard this a ton of times. I know you have, Pedro, as well, but you know, be better than that person you were yesterday. That 1% improvement every single day at the end of the year, that's 365% better, right? You know, so you got to be an action taker. You've got to take risks, and you've got to just trust the process and find somebody that's going to help you along the way as well. Pedro?
Yeah, I'm here. You would just keep rolling there, man. You were doing great. No, yeah. But I think
it's funny that he brought up Kobe Bryant too, because I actually grew up a huge Lakers fan. Inadvertently, I've been in Dallas most of my life, but when I was a kid, everybody loved Michael Jordan, and rightfully so. I mean, he's the greatest of all time, right? But I wanted to find something different, so I became a Magic Johnson fan, and eventually became a Kobe Bryant fan. And one of the things that I don't think a lot of folks know about Kobe is that he wasn't just an awesome basketball player. He was a super smart individual. I think he speaks 5 or 6 different languages. You know, I heard a little interview with him recently, and I was kind of taken back by this, but, you know, they asked him, you know, who were the folks that you looked up to growing up and you expect, and that you admired and that are the reason that you here, you know, are what you are today. You expect him to say like Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain and, you know, these other athletes and so forth. He started talking about Beethoven and Einstein and, you know, all these big, you know, folks over time that, you know, he goes, you know, those are the people that I looked up to because those are the people that didn't quit. You know, they didn't let adversity, you know, get in the way of being the best of what they are and the best of their craft. And they had haters back then, just like we do now. But he said, man, you know, forget them, right? You know, I'm going to do I'm going to be the best at it. And so, man, I thought that was pretty cool that his mentors and the people that he looked up to and his heroes weren't basketball players. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and what Jimmy was talking about his story, you know, and where he's coming from, is just a clear example of what makes it different from someone who wins in life and someone who loses. Because you know, hardship is gonna come, struggle is gonna show up at your door, all that kind of thing is gonna happen. But what makes the difference is how do you react to those things? You know, like I think most people have the raw mentality and think that people on the top, that 1%, people that is making millions of dollars, people that is crushing it with 8, 10 businesses out there, they get to believe that they don't go through all that stuff. I at some point believe that stuff. You know, I believe that shit, how do you go and live life without having issues? No, but then I understood that it is impossible because we're humans, we're all gonna make mistakes and all that stuff, no matter how you are in your business, in life, and everything. I mean, the difference is how are you gonna take those hits from life, you know? I mean,
That's
that's
right.
what really makes a difference because I'm sure that there's people out there. I'm sure Elon Musk, he takes really big hits every single day. And I'm sure that sometimes he feel like not waking up anymore. So it's like, fuck this, you know? Then instead he's like, no, I'm gonna show up every day because I have a mission on this, you know, I have a goal that I need to achieve. And I cannot just let everything go just because one bad day, you know?
That's right. And you know, sooner or later you realize that, you know, we've got one crack at this life, right? And you know, a lot of us have not always had the best you know, upbringing or so forth. Hold on, that's one Jimmy right there. One second. Hey Jimmy, how's it going, man?
I think the electricity went out. Let's see who's going to be available to get back in the show, guys.
No, yeah, no worries, man. We figured that's exactly what was going on, man. So we're just that's not your fault, man. You're listen, man. We really appreciate you coming on today, man. And we're gonna kind of wrap the show up. Sure, absolutely. You're good, man. And we're still live on here right now, man. I was just explaining to the group here that, you know, you're a doer, man. And if you say something, you're gonna do it. And I appreciate you, you know, going and you know, down the street to Starbucks so that you can continue on, you know, so that the show must go on, right? But why don't you, I'll go ahead and let you go, man. I'll let you get back to the house. You know, you guys be safe, and we'll have you on again soon and let you kind of tell the rest of the story there. And man, I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, guys, he probably he couldn't get back online, so we're just gonna wrap it up here. And if you guys have some questions, drop it in the comments, and Jimmy can answer all of your questions too, or we can
Yeah,
answer any questions you have about the
wrap
show.
it up
Remember
right
that we
now
also
so that
have
way everybody can kind of hear.
other
And
8
what we'll do is
episodes
maybe have a
we're gonna be
part two,
posting in the
you know,
groups, so you guys can
thank you for
rewatch them.
those.
There's a lot of great value, great content out there that you guys
Sounds
can
good.
use for your business.
Cool, man. Thanks again.
Um, so he
Okay.
couldn't get back.
He said that the power is off there, that the lights are all off there. You know, and man, you know, just to show you Jimmy's tenacity, he goes, man, if you want to put me on audio, man, he goes, if they can hear me, he goes, I'm happy to answer some questions. You know, they don't make a whole lot of guys like him these days, you know, with that tenacity
Nope.
and that mindset. And it just goes to show you that man, things have not always been easy for him, and a lot, and things have not been always been easy for the folks that are listening right now. But these life circumstances and the things that come along as we go through life, these trials and tribulations are building us up to become bone crushers, you know, to become closers, to become authority figures, to become elite, you know. But you've got to go through and experience the pain and heartache to get there, right? So
Absolutely.
want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We will probably have Jimmy on at some point here in the near future to kind of give you guys just a little bit more, you know, educate more on the educational side of the industry, and give you some tips and tricks and so forth that he uses for his own business as well as during his coaching program, because he's literally, you know, he's a modest guy, but you know, he's got 500 folks that pay him to become great in this industry, and he has created so many successful folks out there. It's it's super impressive, and I really want him to be able to share some of that value and some of those tips and so forth with our audience. But again, we'll go and wrap it up. Pedro, thanks for joining me here once again, man. We got to do
Absolutely, man. We're gonna keep doing this until we change the world.
That's right, man. And guys, for the folks that are listening, same time, same channel next week, next Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Thanks for joining us. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you guys. Later.